Hello. Today General Hospital will reveal Ryan Paevey's long-anticipated return to General Hospital has ignited a wave of excitement across the soap opera community, with fans buzzing about the implications of his comeback after 7 years away. Known to audiences as Nathan West, Paevey's character left an unforgettable mark on Port Charles before his tragic death. Now, in a city once again drowning in chaos and uncertainty, his reappearance feels like both a resurrection and a reckoning. What makes this return especially thrilling for viewers is the promise that it is not a mere nostalgic cameo, but the beginning of a dramatic new chapter, one where Nathan becomes the pivotal figure standing between life and death for Maxie, the woman he loved and once swore to protect at all costs. This storyline marks a carefully orchestrated blend of memory and menace. Writers have threaded together the painful echoes of Nathan's sacrifice with the dangerous reality that grips Port Charles today. For Maxie, who has endured loss, betrayal, and countless battles, it seemed her life had finally settled into fragile stability. Yet fate has conspired to test her again. Unbeknownst to her allies, Maxie becomes the target of a sinister plot. Poison courses through her body, a slow and silent weapon designed to rob her of her strength day by day. Friends and family look on helplessly as her health falters, unable to trace the hidden hand behind the attack. Just as hope begins to fade, the shadow of a man she thought she had lost forever appears. Nathan, returned in the hour of her greatest need, as though destiny itself has summoned him back to fulfill an unfinished vow. The atmosphere in Port Charles turns electrified with whispers and speculation. Is this truly Nathan West, miraculously restored to life after being laid to rest? Or is he an imposter, a man who carries Nathan's face but hides an entirely different identity? The uncertainty spreads like wildfire, touching every corner of the town. At the center of the storm stands the Faison family, whose legacy of deceit and destruction continues to poison every generation. Liesl Albrecht, already notorious for her labyrinth of lies, finds herself cornered. For years, she has carried secrets too dangerous to expose. Now, with Nathan's return, or the return of someone claiming to be him, she risks being forced to reveal truths even darker than those already known. The emotional toll is no less severe for Nina Reeves. Having lost her brother in such a senseless and brutal fashion, she has spent years clutching to the memory of his goodness as a fragile anchor in her turbulent life. Seeing him again, alive and in the flesh, shatters her sense of reality. Confusion, hope, and fear collide as she struggles to reconcile the impossibility of his presence with the undeniable recognition in her heart. Could it be that the brother she adored has come back to her? Or is she being drawn into yet another cruel deception, orchestrated by enemies who know how to exploit her deepest wounds? Meanwhile, Maxie herself faces an even more personal torment. Poisoned and weakened, she must confront not only the physical battle for her life but also the tidal wave of emotions stirred by Nathan's reappearance. Memories of his love and sacrifice flood back with every glance, every word, every gesture that feels achingly familiar. She had long believed Nathan's story had ended, and her own journey had been one of survival and rebuilding. Now, standing at the edge of death, she sees him again, whether as savior, specter, or something in between, and her heart is caught between hope and dread. For the residents of Port Charles, Nathan's return is not just the revival of a beloved figure but the ignition of a larger storm. It signals the reopening of old wounds, the resurfacing of buried secrets, and the possibility that the past has come back not for closure, but to unleash a new wave of peril. Every step he takes toward saving Maxie draws him deeper into a conspiracy that threatens not only her life but the fragile stability of the entire town. As old enemies resurface and new threats emerge, the question looms larger than ever: has Nathan truly returned to reclaim his place as a hero, or has Port Charles become the stage for an even deadlier game, one where nothing, not even life and death, can be taken at face value? For Maxie, every logical doubt, every whispered speculation, and every terrifying question about Nathan's identity dissolves beneath the weight of her own desperate reality. Whether he is truly her husband returned from the grave or some inexplicable echo of him, the presence of this man in her darkest hour is all that matters. Her body, poisoned and weakened, trembles under the invisible assault of the toxins that course through her veins, yet her heart beats faster at the sight of him. There is an unmistakable familiarity in his gaze, a steadiness in his movements, a silent promise in the way he positions himself between her and danger. It is as if the universe has bent time and fate to place him here, before her, just when she needs him most. Her emotions churn with a violent intensity. Hope collides with fear, love with suspicion, joy with despair. For years, she had learned to live without him, to mourn him, to raise their son James with only memories to guide her. She had forced herself to believe that Nathan's chapter was closed, that life's cruelest blow had been final. Yet now, as his hands steady her trembling form, those convictions collapse into dust. Maxie cannot deny what her soul feels in his presence. The man who once vowed to protect her, the man who once gave his life so she might live, has returned, or at least, something of him has. The weight of this moment expands beyond Maxie's personal struggle. Nathan's return is no mere miracle, it is the spark of a wider firestorm threatening to consume Port Charles. The poisoning that has nearly claimed Maxie's life is not an isolated act of malice, not a crime of passion or impulse. It is a deliberate strike, part of a larger conspiracy meticulously woven through the shadows of the city. Each breadcrumb Nathan follows leads to another thread in a labyrinth of corruption, revenge, and unbridled ambition. The deeper he digs, the clearer it becomes that Maxie is not the only target. She is one piece of a calculated campaign meant to destabilize the very foundations of power in Port Charles. Enemies both old and new emerge from the darkness. Some names are familiar. Remnants of the Faison legacy, embittered figures who have not forgotten the grudges and betrayals of the past. Others are fresh faces, dangerous in their anonymity, operating with cold precision from behind curtains of wealth and influence. Together, they form a network that thrives on chaos, each move calculated to pit family against family, ally against ally. For Nathan, the lines blur quickly between his mission to save Maxie and his responsibility as a detective at heart. The instincts that once defined him return in full force, the meticulous observation, the refusal to be intimidated, the quiet yet unbreakable pursuit of truth. But every step forward carries the price of escalating danger. With each revelation, the conspiracy grows larger, its tendrils stretching further into Port Charles than anyone imagined. Nathan's relentless search makes him a target as much as Maxie. Threats multiply, and the promise of more bloodshed looms. The city feels the tension like a storm pressing against its walls. Every resident senses that something monumental is unfolding, though few understand the full scope. For Maxie, the battle is twofold. Her body wages war against the poison, her strength dwindling even as she leans on Nathan's presence to keep fighting. At the same time, her heart wages war against itself. She has long since tried to build a life beyond Nathan's death, piecing together something stable with Damien Spinelli. Spinelli has been her rock in her widowhood, offering loyalty, support, and a deep, enduring affection that has carried her through endless grief. He has helped her parent James, shielded her when she was too weak to shield herself, and reminded her that she still had a future worth living. Now that future trembles beneath the shadow of Nathan's return. For Spinelli, the sight of Maxie's reaction to Nathan cuts deeply. He sees in her eyes a recognition that cannot be faked, a love that has never truly died, and a longing that even time and tragedy could not bury. Spinelli's own devotion to Maxie is unshakable, but he feels the quiet inevitability of his place in her heart shifting. He is not blind to the truth. How can he compete with the man Maxie once called her soulmate, a man who embodies every ideal of bravery, loyalty, and sacrifice? The emotional triangle that emerges is not one of petty jealousy but of profound heartbreak, testing the resilience of all three lives intertwined in its snare. For Maxie, the torment grows unbearable. She owes Spinelli gratitude, respect, and a kind of love rooted in years of shared struggle. Yet when Nathan's hand brushes hers, when his voice carries that familiar timbre of quiet certainty, the dam of her self-control begins to break. Memories overwhelm her. The day she fell in love with him, the laughter they shared in rare moments of peace, the agony of holding him as life slipped away. Now those memories are no longer ghosts. They stand before her, flesh and bone, alive in a man who has once again placed himself between her and annihilation. All of this unfolds against the backdrop of escalating danger. The poison was merely the opening act of a larger performance staged by unseen puppeteers. Nathan's investigation reveals unsettling patterns, shipments moving in and out of Port Charles under false names, familiar institutions compromised from within, and whispers of alliances that make no sense until seen through the lens of corruption. Liesel Albrecht, always tangled in webs of deceit, finds herself under scrutiny once more. Did she play a role in Nathan's return? Has she withheld the truth about what really happened the night he died? Her evasions only fuel suspicion, and her desperation suggests she knows far more than she is willing to admit. Nina, for her part, spirals into an emotional freefall. Seeing her brother alive, or believing she does, rocks her to her core. For years, she clung to the memory of Nathan as the one pure, stable force in her chaotic existence. To have him ripped away was devastating. To see him alive again is almost more unbearable, because it shatters her ability to distinguish truth from illusion. Her tears and her hope make her vulnerable, and in a city like Port Charles, vulnerability is always exploited. As Nathan fights to uncover the conspiracy, Maxie fights to stay alive, and Spinelli fights to preserve what remains of his family. The city of Port Charles hovers on the brink of collapse. Every path leads deeper into danger, every revelation threatens to unearth secrets long buried. And at the heart of it all lies one haunting question. Has Nathan truly returned to save Maxie, or is his presence itself part of the very scheme that seeks to destroy her? The tension builds toward a breaking point. Each heartbeat feels like borrowed time, each hour a fragile reprieve. The poison tightens its grip on Maxie's body, but Nathan's determination to save her burns brighter with every passing moment. For him, failure is unthinkable. He lost her once, and the price was his own life. He cannot lose her again. Yet in Port Charles, nothing is ever as it seems, and salvation often comes hand in hand with destruction. If Nathan succeeds, he may rescue Maxie and expose the network threatening the city. But if he fails, or if the truth of his return is darker than anyone dares imagine, then Port Charles may descend into a nightmare from which no one can wake. Spinelli had always been a man defined by devotion. For years after Nathan's death, when grief threatened to consume Maxie and her world seemed irreparably fractured, he became the steady presence who never let her fall too far. He was not the dramatic hero who dove in front of bullets or brought down enemies with fists and fire, but he was the quiet constant, the one who picked up pieces, who reminded her that love did not always have to be wrapped in tragedy. His role as James's father figure solidified that bond, making him not only a companion but also a vital thread in the family Maxie tried so desperately to rebuild. And for a long time, that was enough. Maxie clung to that stability as a lifeline, even convincing herself that the intensity she once knew with Nathan was too painful to recall. But the moment Nathan appeared again, that fragile equilibrium shattered. The air between Maxie and Nathan is charged in ways that Spinelli can neither ignore nor match. Maxie's heart responds to him instinctively, as though no time has passed, as though death itself had been merely a pause between chapters. Every glance carries recognition, every touch awakens an ache she thought had been buried forever. Spinelli sees it all. He notices the subtle softening of her features when Nathan enters a room, the almost unconscious shift of her body leaning toward him, the way her entire spirit seems to ignite with a mixture of hope and terror. These are not things a woman can fake, nor can a man compete with them. For Spinelli, who has always fought battles with intellect and loyalty rather than raw heroism, the challenge is unbearable. How does one stand against the weight of a love story that once ended in blood and sacrifice? For Maxie, the emotional conflict is suffocating. Spinelli represents survival, the proof that life can go on, that even after unthinkable loss there can still be laughter, still be love, still be a family. Yet Nathan represents the kind of love that comes only once in a lifetime, a love seared into memory by passion, tragedy, and sacrifice. Now fate demands she choose between them, and every option feels like betrayal. If she leans into the safety of Spinelli, she denies the undeniable pull of her past. If she embraces Nathan, she risks destroying the man who has been her lifeline for years. But Maxie is not only choosing between two men, she is choosing between two versions of herself, the survivor who endured or the woman who still believes in soulmates. The viewers, swept into this emotional vortex, know that the personal drama is only part of a larger tapestry. Nathan's reappearance is tethered to danger. Maxie's poisoning is not a random act of cruelty, it is a calculated move within a broader conspiracy designed to destabilize the very soul of Port Charles. Each hour that the toxins ravage her body tightens the urgency of uncovering the truth. Nathan, with the instincts of the detective he once was and the fire of love still burning within him, throws himself into the investigation. The deeper he digs, the clearer it becomes that Maxie's plight is the opening act of something far more sinister. A network of enemies, old adversaries resurrected, new players cloaked in secrecy, threads through the city, binding corruption, vengeance, and greed into a single design. This web ensnares everyone touched by Nathan's return. Liesel Albrecht, whose legacy is already soaked in deceit, finds herself cornered as questions mount about her role. Did she know Nathan had survived? Did she manipulate events to keep him hidden? Each evasive answer, each nervous glance, fuels suspicion that she has once again orchestrated far more than she admits. For Nina, the torment is deeply personal. Seeing her brother alive, or someone wearing his face, is almost too much to bear. She has lived defined by loss, by fractured family ties, by the constant ache of things stolen from her. Nathan was her anchor, her reminder that goodness could still exist within their bloodline. To see him again is both a gift and a curse, a gift because it reignites hope, a curse because she cannot trust that it is real. And in Port Charles, hope is often the cruelest weapon of all. James, the son Nathan never had the chance to raise, now stands unknowingly in the center of the storm. For him, Nathan has always been a story, a legacy passed down in photographs and memories shared by others. Suddenly confronted with the possibility of meeting his father, James becomes a living embodiment of the stakes. If Nathan truly has returned, then he is not only fighting to save Maxie's life, he is fighting to reclaim a bond that death had severed. But if Nathan is an imposter, then James is being drawn into yet another cycle of betrayal that will scar him forever. Through all of this, Spinelli's pain deepens. He cannot walk away from Maxie, not when she needs him, not when James looks to him as a father, but he feels his place eroding with each passing day. The man who once sacrificed everything for Maxie has come back, and Spinelli is forced to watch as history threatens to repeat itself. The strength of his love is matched only by the inevitability of Nathan's hold on Maxie's heart. For perhaps the first time, Spinelli faces a battle he cannot strategize his way out of. And looming over all of them is the city itself. Port Charles has never been a sanctuary, it is a crucible where miracles are tainted with danger, where every reunion risks becoming a prelude to disaster. Nathan's return is no exception. It is a moment of breathtaking possibility, but also of bone-deep dread. His presence may save Maxie's life, may restore to her a love once believed gone forever. Yet just as easily, it may ignite a new era of nightmares, unraveling fragile alliances and plunging the city into chaos. Ryan Paevey's comeback is not just a nostalgic gift to fans, it is the promise of upheaval. It is a declaration that the past is never truly buried, that love and betrayal are bound together by destiny, and that Port Charles is about to face choices where no one will emerge unscathed. Nathan, the man who once died in Maxie's arms, now has a chance to write the next chapter of their story. But in a city where every triumph carries a hidden cost, the question is not whether he can save her, it is what price everyone will pay if he does. With the return of Ryan Paevey to General Hospital, the series is doing far more than simply welcoming back a beloved actor. His reappearance breathes new life into the mythology of Port Charles, reminding viewers that in this world of betrayals, secrets, and miraculous resurrections, no character is ever truly gone. Soap operas thrive on the balance between memory and reinvention, and Paevey's comeback as Nathan, or at least as someone who embodies his spirit, underscores that very truth: legends may fall, but they never vanish. They remain in the hearts of those left behind, and sometimes, when the story demands it, they find their way back into the light. This return does more than rekindle nostalgia. It signals a deeper narrative intention, one that positions Nathan at the crossroads of past tragedy and future redemption. His story had ended abruptly, in a blaze of sacrifice when he gave his life to protect Maxie. For years, that sacrifice defined her, haunted her, and shaped the way her relationships unfolded. Now, with his sudden reappearance, that narrative thread is picked up once more, and the audience is left to wonder whether Nathan's legacy will be rewritten. Is this truly a resurrection, a chance to continue the love story left unfinished? Or is it something darker, a twist that will reveal hidden motives and dangerous secrets buried within the very fabric of Port Charles? In a town built on shifting alliances and shadowy legacies, the return of a hero always raises questions. Nathan's reemergence forces characters across the canvas to confront their own histories with H.